You noble diggers, all stand up now.
Hello my friends, and welcome to my channel. Today we will be talking about American evangelicals, or why the Russian Orthodox Church mocks American evangelicals. I will be cutting most of this episode up with Father Spyridon, who is a ROCOR speaker. ROCOR means the Russian Orthodox Church outside of Russia. Most people, I think, would dismiss that out of hand, right? But I don't believe that there is a reason to dismiss basically anyone's viewpoint. As I said, take the best, leave the rest. Even far-right Nazis, you can learn a thing or two from them, right? Curtis Yarvin did add the concept of the cathedral to the canon, right? Charles Douglas Murray did broaden my view of what counts as a WASP, right? So these cretins, right? These people that should be viewed as scum, they might have something to say, but the Russian Orthodox Church outside of Russia isn't that, right? These are men of faith, right? They truly believe, and the reason you can bet on that is that truth is always the best servant of the weak, right? Of the meek. It's also why I trust Al Jazeera as a news agency, right? There is no incentive for them to lie. And just like with the weakness of who Al Jazeera represents, the Russian Orthodox Church outside of Russia is the weakest of the claimants to Christianity, right? Just in brute numbers and followers. The Catholics are first, and then the Protestants, and then the Russian Orthodox Church outside of Russia. But because of this weakness, they speak honestly about the dogma, right? And so I'm going to cut him in here, and we're going to talk about why even the Russians do Christianity better than the hogs that we have in America, right? First, he gives this huge caveat.
Once more, we're witnessing war in the Middle East. And yet again, we're hearing many US politicians declaring unwavering support for Israel. And of course, this is their right, their freedom to have a political opinion. If they believe that support for Israel is in the interest, the global interests of America, that's entirely their freedom and right to do so.
But there is no strategic imperative versus Israel's survival. Not in the West, at least, right? The Anglo-American Empire has no peers. We don't need the Suez. We don't need an aircraft carrier in the Middle East. We need peace and we need trade. That's it.
But we're also seeing American politicians claiming that it is the Christian duty to do so, to support Israel. And then, of course, by implication, the duty of all Christian listeners in America to show this unwavering support for Israel. This is a modern heresy.
Dispensationalism was started by a man named John Nelson Darby in the 1830s. It's obviously a heresy. It's a scam on the level of Joseph Smith and the Mormons.
Dispensationalism only appeared in the 1830s. It's completely absent from the writings of the Church Fathers.
Right? It's incredible what they got away with. The basis of it is that the new law, the new covenant of the New Testament is for the Jews, right? And that anyone who accepts Jesus into their heart, faith is enough for them. Right? The foundations of the prosperity gospel today are what allow people to say silliness like it is easier for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter heaven. But what they do is they reinterpret and they say that the eye of a needle is not a real needle, right? It's a doorway in Israel that was just kind of small in Jerusalem. These people are liars. They're inauthentic. They are dishonest, right?
In the name of Jesus. In the name of Satan, you bow your knee.
Satan, you bow your knee.
You fall on your face.
You fall on your face.
and they're not even fully their own movement. The CIA from the 40s through the 70s put forward a coordinated effort to push sin as the preaching of the Protestant evangelical South, right? Because a high proportion of these preachers were self-selectively socialists, right? Because if you've listened to the Sermon on the Mount, even a little bit, you would come away thinking, I've just been ordered by God to be a communist.
There is no special dispensation outside of Christ. And those who reject him, reject Christ, whether Jew or Gentile, reject salvation. The great conversion of the Jews in the end times has already happened. The apostles, the first Christians, were all Jewish converts. We've been living in the end times since the day of Pentecost. The Talmudic faith is alien to Moses, to Isaac, to Jacob, to all the prophets. Christians must know that the Talmud blasphemes Christ. It blasphemes the Mother of God. There is no separate, no second, no different salvation.
There are two stories from the Bible that make this very clear to me. The first is the story of Jesus and Barabbas, right? The two people that Pontius Pilate holds and lets one go, right? But the real translation from the Greek and the Aramaic is that his name was Jesus Barabbas, right? So there's Jesus Christ and Jesus Barabbas, and so what this obviously is a mimicked Passover ceremony, right? In the ancient world, this Passover ceremony, they would sacrifice one lamb to God for one more year of covenant, right? And release another to receive God's grace in the wild, right? Kind of like how Israel would receive God's grace. But when Jesus is sacrificed and Barabbas let go, this is upping the ante, right? You're sacrificing a god so that you'll never have to do Passover again, right? So even the idea of Judaism continuing to these Christians should make no sense, right? But they believe that Christ won't come back until all of Israel is Jewish, right? For what reason? Where in the Bible is that, right? It's made up.
Faith in God gives me peace and quietness.
He made that airplane so cheap for me, I couldn't help but buy it.
Do you ever use your private jets to go visit your vacation homes, for example?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Again, getting back to the comment, you said that you don't like to fly commercial because you don't want to get into a tube with a bunch of demons. Do you really believe that human beings are demons?
No, I do not. And don't you ever say I did. We wrestle not with flesh and blood.
The other story that really makes this clear to me is the parable of the fig tree, right? Jesus comes upon the fig tree, it doesn't bear fruit, and then they cut that story with Jesus going to the market to flip over the money tables, right? So he goes in and he harasses the elite of the old covenant and smashes the covenant, right? And after that covenant has been smashed, the new covenant can bear fruit. He goes back to the fig tree and it's bearing fruit now, right? So again, these Christians should have no emotional connection with these Jewish people, right? They should feel as their ancestors have felt dogmatically that they are in sin, right? That they are mistaken, that they should be converted, right?
Many American evangelicals believe that the commands of Christ to live virtuous lives, to follow the teachings of the Sermon on the Mount, they believe they only apply to the Jews, and that they, as Christians, are saved by faith alone. But it's the Jews who must live according to these new laws, as they call them. We must be clear. Faith without works is dead.
But these people believe what they believe, right? Not because they've arrived at this as some emotional truth, some deep study of the text, some hermeneutical study of the Bible. It is, in fact, a complicated psyop meant for the CIA to push its understanding, its ideology on the world. And this reactionary ideology is a cancer. Right? It is destructive. How can the CIA see someone like Fred Hampton as an existential threat that needs to be extra-constitutionally assassinated?
I don't believe I'm gonna die in no car wreck. I don't believe I'm gonna die slipping on no ice. I don't believe I'm gonna die because I got a bad heart. I believe I'm gonna die doing what I was born for. I believe I'm gonna die high off the people. I'm gonna die for the people because I live for the people. I live for the people because I love the people.
Right? Which is what they did. Or Martin Luther King, which is what they did.
I am happy to join with you today in what will go down in history as the greatest demonstration for freedom in the history of our nation.
Right? But that someone like Kenneth Copeland gets to walk around free. Right? I do not begrudge the everyman his faith. Right? I think that you have the absolute right to your religion. But that I believe that anyone who garbs themselves in executive power instantly and voluntarily gives up any conception of what a right is, right? And downgrades all those rights to privileges. And so the treason, the sedition of Kenneth Copeland and his conspiracy, right? Could be met with extra constitutional executions, I think would be the appropriate response. I don't believe these Christians have the right to rule, especially as they disappear into a minority, right? And they don't rule. They are puppets of more perfidious people, right? The oil interests, the money interests that pushed these people forward as useful idiots to divide what was Christ's message, right? Which is the Sermon on the Mount. Blessed are the weak, blessed are the poor, right? I say to you, how you have treated the least of these, you have done unto me, right? Those are the teachings of Christ. And these people act like faith enough is alone. As Father Spyridon says, faith without acts is dead. I don't even believe in God, and I gotta deal with this, right? This is how overgrown the system of weeds that the CIA has created has become. If you were to compare it to a front lawn, it is completely out of control. No one is hedging it. No one is mowing it, right? No one is keeping track of what grows where. There's just tendrils everywhere now. And it's self-sustaining. It needs to be met with executive fervor, violence maybe even. I want it clear that I don't believe in these superstitions, these fantasies, right? And if they deem to play with secular power, they will deal with secular consequences. Thank you. Have a good day. Hello, you've made it to the end of the video. Thank you. This channel has one mission: to prevent civilizational collapse associated with climate change, to prevent 100 million refugees by 2035, to stop 7 billion from starving to death by 2075. And we will do this through one main vehicle. We mean to unite the Anglosphere. We will do this by convincing the Commonwealth of His Majesty King Charles III to apply for statehood as one. And then with this new power, we will be able to negotiate in good faith with the rest of the world on how to tackle this crisis. Thank you and enjoy.